Hello, I'm MC Toon. Welcome to Tuesday Night, where I've got a debate tonight with the reincarnation of the Egyptian gods Ra and Thoth, embodied in the person known as Javante Relaford. Unfortunately, he hasn't joined yet. He's a bit flaky. So, um, put in the nose lasers. So the problem is with this guy is he's unemployable. He lives off of other people. Like, this guy does nothing with his life. It's very sad. But every once in a while he'll come into a DM with me and he'll start flapping his claim, making all sorts of crazy claims. So maybe I should just put it right up on the screen, shouldn't I? I shall put it up on the screen. Let me see here. Let me get this so that we can see what it is that he was saying. All right, we gotta go here. I gotta set it up. There we go. There's that. So we will see. We'll just see the whole conversation from him. So, and yeah, he's a strange one. So, all right, there it is. All right, let me roll back here. Yeah, okay. There's... All right. So here it is. He says, we're back to May 6th. Space has none to do the Earth, if that's the case, where in the Big Bang is the natural resources, God's resources only on plant Earth. Yep, that's what he wrote. Oh, he didn't quite say it. It's at the top there. God's resources only on plant Earth. So, all right. Here's, for some reason, he's got the hamburger there. He says, the globe pages have made a big mistake you should call disinformation on at least one. So he posts on Facebook pages, and then he comes and cries to me when his insanity gets blocked. So then he posts like this picture is of Central Park in New York. Here's another picture of New York, you know. Then he's like, damn, them buildings must be 2,000 feet tall. I think he's looking at the one on the right there. It's had some effect placed on it. See, he doesn't understand the difference between an actual photograph and something that's like labeled as an actual photograph and something that's not claimed to be an actual photograph. He doesn't understand the difference. So he gets super confused about those kinds of things. So that's why he's looking at this one on the right here, I think. That's clearly the same photograph as the top row there. Just edited, like rotated and wrapped. So watch them call disinformation. And then he goes, Toon once I'm unblocked. Better call the disinformation team and agents by the thousands. His ego has no bounds. Like, he thinks that somehow people are scared of the information he's sharing. So, all right. You will shake if I expose my secret, RN, right now. So watch tomorrow, 11 hours, until I'm free to expose the globe/curved lie. That was Saturday. In case you missed the headlines, I guess Javante exposed it. So I go, if you ever have the stones, let me know. He goes, too deep down, you got... Oh my gosh. Tune deep down in your heart and soul. You gon' feel this one. I'm ready to debate now. I just want to show the crowd globe heads or not and watch their soul melts. So prepare for your soul to melt. And I gave him the time, 8 Pacific. That's right now. That's 15 minutes ago. It says, trust me, it's over. No man step up to me after I posted this. Javante, I stepped up. You are not here, Javante. You are not here. Idiot. I said, trust me, I've heard the exact same claim too many times. He's like, let's do next week, Friday or Monday. I said, I live stream on Tuesdays. Tune, I've been waiting for a reason. I said, I'm busy on those nights. Said, I'll make YouTube shut down if you live my information. You would have to show up first. As I have heard that one before too. It's going to be hard to call disinformation once you have 16,000 people believe that the fake image was real. Why would anybody think that fake image was real? It's pretty clearly fake. Unless you're talking about a different one. I don't know. Anyway, all right, what else? On Facebook or YouTube, but I promise $100 they will soon call disinformation on my images. I said, you don't even have $100. So they call disinformation. I mean, all right. Yes, that's a good point. Here's that was in a group chat with a few other people. This is, I'll just call him. It's ringing. It's not piped through. So if yeah, since it's not you won't hear him if he answers, but I have a feeling he won't be answering. I can fix that. I can fix the to OBS, add Facebook Messenger. There you go. Now you should get it. See, you're getting it now. I fixed it, but nothing. Where are you, Javante? You had all this talk. So much talk, and you're not even here. Blah, blah, blah. So, oh my gosh, where it is. All right, stop this. There. Done. Anyway, so I have some other stuff planned. Says I have to, oh, this is so hilarious. I have to prepare for national security agents. FBI gone be mad. I love this feeling. Mistakes exposed. All you have to do is show up. I'm ready for you to do this. I'm a wait for tomorrow. I'm a post it on your page. I don't know if he did or not. I'm a make all this disinformation agents mad and have a long talk after today. You know what did not happen? Nobody cared. I understand disinformation photos now, so better understand my information is going to get out there. Can't stop me now or later because I have copies on copies, different numbers, harder work for them. Haha. So he's unaware of punctuation. I'm saying I'm sure it will be your derpiest thing ever. It will be so powerful the White House will hear about this. Like, dude, it's so stupid. Oh my gosh. All right, well then. He's like thinking I'm gonna run. I have more kill shots. These are not kill shots. This is just pictures of New York City at night. Now what company's gonna take down their image first? Nobody. I made them run to you. Now who you gonna run to? I just kept saying Tuesday, 8 Pacific. I'll make a fool of you again. So you sure? I have more lil examples. You still want to debate? He thinks I'm scared of him. Yeah, got the stones? What stones? The only reward I won was your post has some false information. This I'm on the YouTube will be banned. You must destroy you. He's like, can you show me where Dubai is on the globe? I'm the champion. I'm the best. I'm like, do you need a geography lesson? Well, teach me, buddy. Look, you claim to know more about the Earth than everyone else. All right. Be ready tomorrow, 8 Pacific, 8 p.m. Pacific. He sends this. I don't know. He sends these things. I sent him the link. Said it's on. He sent me his whatever this is. I don't know what that is. And then this is to Corey Dawson, who's been on here before. He's like, I gotta see this lol, and nothing. He hasn't even read it. So what's gonna happen? He's gonna expose, and it's gonna be no. He's not gonna expose anything. So I have something else. I'm going to. So I bought, so that you don't have to. I bought a subscription, a pass for the Equinox Summit from True Earth, which is Jaren's and Austin's thing, where they have a whole bunch of people on the summit deal. So I bought that, and I have Kaleb and Dare ICK, their presentation ready to go. I'm going to review that now. So let's see. I got a couple super chats first, though. Let me see here. We've got a new member at Newton, Steve6464. He's been around. Stephen Walker's a new member. Minnie Karen says he's got quantum entangled and couldn't make it. Where are you, Javante? You big talker. Kentucky Jerk says in 10 days you had a death threat. Exposed to child abuser cover-up. Now this coward. Who's next? The guy Jaren's wife cheated. Shh. Naughty. That's naughty talk. PG Tony says, while some masochists may be disappointed by a no-show, we should understand most mental health facilities do not allow patients internet access. Love that, PG Tony. It's awesome. Eddie Reese says a sticker that says next time, and it's waving. Delco says subspace is real. Ask my girlfriend. I don't know what that means. The Triggered Limey says, good morning, evening, afternoon, you beautiful bastards. Don't forget to tickle that thumbs up button. Steve6464 said the first one was a gift. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, thank you. Rocket Couch says, is True Earth another one of the non-flat Earth versions of Flat Earth? Because as an official representative of Weenie Earth, I can claim them as Weenie Earthers. Yes, that is another attempt at Flat Earth. But when people claim that they're a True Earther, I'm just like, oh, I'm one of those. They're trying to claim theirs is the only true one. Like, oh no, I get. D Rabbit says, whoa there. We do have internet access in Mallory's asylum. And Stringer News 1 says for a member super chat says, obviously they don't want the truth to be heard. Okay. You know what I did? I had to get up at 6:30 a.m. on Sunday. And so I set my alarm for 6:30 on my phone, which was an everyday repeating alarm. So then yesterday morning it went off again and I forgot to turn it off. And then this morning it woke me up at 6:30 again. And I did remember to turn it off. So I won't do that tomorrow. But I wanted to sleep more. So, okay. So here it is. Kaleb and Derek. Let me drop it on there. Yep, get it running. So they apparently they did a they covered something that I had talked about in a different debate. So all right, let me see what scene I want to use here. So I only know a little bit of what they did. So I'm not too familiar with what it is. All right. I have a lot of these insets, of these scenes, if you will. So this will be a good one here. There's, oh, that looks nice. There it is. That's not the right chat. Let me get the right chat here. There it is. And then this one, the browser. There it is. All right. So that should unlock this, move that around a little, and we're good. All right. So this is now if you don't know Derek, oh geez, come on. Derek and Kaleb. Derek, I've done a couple videos on. He's so dumb. He's so, like, the other flat earthers have just got to be embarrassed for him. I call him, Professor Ick of the Dunning-Kruger Institute for kids that can't science good and want to learn to do other stuff good too. That's Dare Ick. All right, so this is their presentation. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. Oh, jeez. Look at that smug face.
To make it as obvious as possible with all of the failed experiments or positive experiments that have proved the Earth is flat or have proved the ether. So we're going to be going over a couple of those things. I know Derek has some stuff that he wanted to start off with the presentation, but Derek, do you want to just kind of start off by like what you're doing on TikTok, like
No.
maybe a little bit about you, and
Don't
then I'll
hear
just
it.
Important to try to make people believe that there's all of these different things
teaching the true. We'll get her on eventually to talk about.
are possible on both models. A sun valid argument. Basically, what Kaleb and I really want for this presentation to do is teach the people who don't see the flat Earth as a valid argument, the true Earth as a valid argument, because changing that.
Just for reference, this is a members only, or a paid thing. So the only people that were seeing this were people that paid to be there. Basically, only flat earthers saw this
Perspective. You don't need to be a true earther to enter into this debate. You just need to have.
Oh, is the live chat broken? No, it's scrolling. I see it going.
Have an open mind, and once you see that all of the topics that are ridiculed are actually valid on both models,
No, they're not.
all of the claims that they make are possible on both models. A sunset, all of the different horizons.
No, they'll never explain how the sun sets. They'll just, all they do, it's just crazy. You've all heard it. They just use magical phrases. They will do it here too.
Horizons and all of these things, they're all possible on both models. A sinking ship, it's possible on both models due to refraction. So to not just discard the true Earth when you hear it because of the things that.
Oh no, I totally embrace the true Earth. The true Earth is a globe. I totally am in favor of the true Earth. Brenda asked if I could post a link to it. I paid for it. So it's trueearther.com, I think. I mean, hold on. I can give it to you. I can give it just a second. I mean, you can pay for it too, if you want. Where to go? Trueearther.com. Yep. So that's the link. But don't go pay for it. Don't go buy it. Send me a message on Discord.
The globe people have implanted in the minds of those who are seeking the truth. And so all we're hoping to do by the end of this is just get those of you who maybe used to mock this to actually take it seriously.
Yeah,
And
not a chance.
if you're right, you're right. But if we're right, the whole world changes. Okay, so it's worth looking into.
This guy, just for reference, Dare ICK, saw a field of malva, a weed. And it's got one leaf that's kind of round with jaggedy edges. Not even that jaggedy. And he thought it was strawberries. Strawberries have not round leaves, have more American football shaped leaves with kind of jaggedy edges, and there's 3 of them per. Very different. And he said, these are all strawberries. I can't believe they're going to mow the strawberries instead of feeding people with the strawberries. And other fans of his in the chat were saying, hey, that's not strawberries. That's Mulvey. He goes, no, it's strawberries. That's Dare ICK. Dare ICK is the guy that couldn't find the sun. The moon. The moon set. He drove around town looking for it and couldn't find it. That's the guy here that's like, we're going to change the world because we so smart. No, Derek, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, we know that a lot of the people in here are going to be true earthers, but
I am.
basically I brought this slide up just because
I should do a poll. How about that? A poll. You can see what I'm. There we go. Vote as you think.
because it's really cool to see that it's being validated right now in
No,
like a
it's not.
mainstream setting, where on
No, it's
TikTok
not.
we're having people have these debates, whereas I'm sure as in 2014, 2013, people wouldn't even have this debate. People wouldn't go live on TikTok.
2013. Seriously, the modern flat earth movement started in 2014, March of 2014, with Mark Braun. He's one of the earliest. The guy that literally calls himself Satan. He's the guy. He's one of the leaders there, guys. Mark Braun. It wasn't until February of 2025, or 2015, not 2020, 2015. That's when Jaron and Mark Sargent and put out their videos. I don't know exactly when Dubé's first video was, but his first post on his website was November 2014, just 3 months earlier than Jaron and Sargent on YouTube. So nobody in 2013 was having this conversation. And yes, I am not including Matt Boylan, who is a comedian. Not a funny comedian, but he's a comedian. It was a joke for him.
Or if that was a thing back then, people wouldn't go live on YouTube and hold flat earth debates. They thought this was a settled science, as Byman Dan would say. I tried to get a debate with Byman Dan, whatever you want to call him. But I tried to get a debate with him, and he said specifically, this is what the Globers will say. They're like, I don't debate settled science.
Hey, Kaleb, why wouldn't you debate me? Kaleb won't debate me. Now, being that Kaleb has come out as kind of a KK Kaleb, if you know what I'm saying. Actually, more of a fan of the Führer Kaleb. I don't know if I'm all that interested in debating him. If that there's a video on TikTok where somebody listened to his you can do it yourself. He has his podcast on his website, Unearthing 5D Reality, I think, something like that. Podcast number 12. Where he talks about the Führer. He kind of likes it. Anyway, yeah. He's like, oh, how come Simon and Dan won't debate? He says he won't, but I will. Why will you only accept debates from people that, or why will you only seek debates with people that have said that they don't debate it? That's weird. Yes. Oh, we have a turtle. Hold on a second. First we have a raccoon. Look at this. Oh, kitty. She's the sweet one. She's got the little jingle bell. She's always tries to get away from the puppy. Oh, puppy next. The hyper dog. There you go. She had, hold on. Oh, yes. Okay. She did have some digestive problems today. Why is the cat on my shoulder?
Stay.
No, the claws. The claws. All right. Penguin. She's like, I don't know what to do. All right. All right. Thank you. Bye, kitty. All right. There you go. What was I saying? Oh, yes. That dog is so intense. She's just 100% of the time. So yeah, Kaleb wants somebody who has said that he won't debate to debate, but he won't accept a debate from me, even on Jaren's channel. I said, let's do it on Jaren's channel. He's like, no. But then he'll go debate other people. Why won't he debate me? I mean, I talked with him once, and it was clear it wasn't a debate, but I don't know. Flat Earth is Nonsense says, I need more of those clips where they charged you and many other gullible people. Yeah. Well, send me a message. All right.
So really, I made this slide just because it's really cool to see that it's being validated in the mainstream, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube. People are at least having this conversation, which
we do it to mock you.
Tells us that this movement is going somewhere. We're good to go to the next slide.
Yeah, and don't get caught on the wrong side of history, guys. Like if you're not 100% of either model, don't get caught defending the enemy. Just kind of get out of the way and let the people who are putting
Shut up, Derek.
That Austinpedia and these other sources that are just telling them, which is sanity when it's bendy space-time doesn't make any sense. But I think we're good to jump into the first topic today, which is going to be the Michelson-Morley experiment. We wanted to do a little bit of an overlay and just kind of chat about what happened in the Michelson-Morley experiment and really point out what the narrative is from the Globers, because
he has no clue what they were actually doing. So I have not watched this video, but here's what I think he's going to say. He's going to say that they were trying to measure the speed of the Earth. They were trying to confirm that the Earth was moving. One of those two things there.
So it's so deceitful what we're getting right now from the Globers on TikTok and specifically YouTube. And they're getting it from Wikipedia and these other sources that are just telling them, oh, yeah.
I got it from reading the paper. And how do you know? You can get the paper yourself. It's not hard to find if you know my website. I know it's zoomed in a little funny here. You search for relativity. Right there. And then you got Einstein's papers from 1905, 1915. Airy's failure. And then here you go, Michelson-Morley. Yeah, it's hold on. Let me fix that so you can see it. You can see the whole thing. There it is. Okay. So there it is. I mean, it's right there on the page. You can click the link, the DOI link. That'll go right to it there. Right? Or you can even shortcut it. I have the PDF right there, so you don't have to go through one extra layer. There's the PDF. Boom. Oh, still off the screen. Hold on. So I didn't get it from Wikipedia, Kaleb. I got it from reading the actual paper. Now, Kaleb is one step better than many flurfs. He's actually read at least some of the paper. We'll see what he says about it.
Yeah, Michelson and Morley, all that they were trying to detect was the luminiferous ether. That's it. They were trying to detect motion in the luminiferous ether.
Yeah.
When we're going to clearly point out today that these guys were trying to detect the velocity around the sun, the orbit around the sun, which is 66,616 miles an hour, and the result.
And there we go with the number games. That's one of the speeds that the Earth travels twice a year. Right? When I drove on the freeway today, I drove at 70 miles an hour. That was the speed limit, which means that I drove at one point 66.6 miles per hour. Would it be fair to say that I drove 66.6 miles an hour? That was my speed? No, it wouldn't. It's not my average speed. It wasn't the most. It wasn't the least. It wasn't the speed I set my car at. It was the speed that I went through on the way to another speed. So when they say that the Earth goes around the sun at 66.6 thousand miles an hour, whatever they say. They're just being deceitful. They're playing numbers games and trying to lie to people to make it sound like it's evil, but it's not. Matt Klein says, yeah, I watched some of Witsit's live stream last week on his little YouTube channel, and he said the Michelson-Morley experiment was trying to detect Earth's movement. I called him out in his chat. Of course he says that. But let's do this. We can look right here. This is the actual paper. We can look at the actual paper to see what they said, to see if their goal was to see whether or not the Earth was moving. If you read it, it'll make it clear, right? Wouldn't it? So since the discovery of the aberration of light, which was in 1725 by James Bradley, was soon followed by an explanation according to the emission theory. The effect was attributed to simple composition of the velocity of light with the velocity of the Earth in its orbit. So 150 years prior to this, aberration of light was discovered, and that it was because of the orbit of the Earth around the sun. That's the first thing they talk about. The first thing. 150 years prior, an experiment had been done confirming that the Earth orbits the sun. The difficulties in this apparently sufficient explanation were overlooked until after an explanation of the undulating theory of light was proposed. So at the time, James Bradley thought light had infinite speed, or at least that was a common thing at the time. All right. I'm not going to read all of this. It's too much, but it failed to account for the fact proved by the experiment that the aberration was unchanged when observers were made with a telescope filled with water, which that's Airy's failure. So in the late 1800s, Airy was the Astronomer Royal of England. So this is shortly after his experiment. For if the tangent of the angle aberration is the ratio of the velocity of the Earth to the velocity of light, then since the latter velocity in water is 3/4 its velocity in a vacuum, the aberration observed with the water telescope should be 4/3 of its true value. So they're talking about Airy's failure there, right? So, all right. Brilliant says everyone knows you have to drive at 88 miles per hour with a power source of 1.21 gigawatts. So, all right. So it goes on to more here. The undulating theory, according to Fresnel. First, the ether is supposed to be at rest, except in the interior of transparent media, in which, secondly, it's supposed to move with the velocity less than the velocity of the medium in the ratio n squared minus 1 over n squared, where n is the index of refraction, right? So Fresnel dealt with lenses, dealt with refraction, came after Snell. These two hypotheses give a complete and satisfactory explanation of aberration. The second hypothesis, notwithstanding its seemed improbability, must be considered as fully proved first by the celebrated experiment of Fizeau, and secondly by the ample confirmation of our own work. The experiment. All right. So far, this is talking history, right? We'll go back. We'll go to this other page here. And now they're on to describing what they're going to do. But none of this is we're trying to test whether or not the Earth is moving. They know the Earth is moving. Coming into this, it had been well established for a long time that the Earth is moving. And here we have let V equal capital V, velocity of light, and lowercase v is the velocity of the Earth in its orbit. Right? And they knew the velocity of the Earth in its orbit. Let's see where I have this here. They're not, this one isn't solving for things. They're getting, the difference is therefore, can I highlight? No, I can't. All right. Considering only the velocity of the Earth in its orbit, this would be 2d times 10 to the negative 8. It's a little hard to read. This is the case. The first experiment, 2 times 10 to the 6 waves of yellow light, displacement. All right. Where are they saying we're testing to see if the Earth is moving? They're not. Here they describe their experiment. They put this whole table on a mercury. Here's the diagram with the mercury bath in it. There's the top. See. All right. So where in this, Kaleb, Austin, where in here are they saying we're checking to see what the velocity is of the Earth? It's not in here. Kaleb looks at one thing. He pointed at one thing here. Let me see if it's up there. Right there. Yeah, this one here. On the top of page 334. Michelson and Morley, motion of the Earth. This right here is what he thinks is telling. Right? The title is On the Relative Motion of the Earth and the Luminiferous Ether. So the shortened title is Motion of the Earth, etc. So he thinks by this little thing here, motion of the Earth, that is telling us what they were testing. We'll see if he talks about it. He sent that to me on Instagram, but we'll see what he says here.
Results were completely nil. They got absolutely nothing. So we're going to go in depth over that. We want to go over the American Journal publication from Michelson and Morley themselves and show the math behind it so that you guys can hopefully take this and have better arguments when you are talking to the heliosexuals, as I would say.
And not only that, but you're going to see that these experiments are very similar. There's a couple different variables, but you get different results. And these results contradict the other theory. So hopefully by the end of this presentation, you're going to be able to see the dance that globe earthers have to go through to maintain their delusion. They have to avoid facts and make up things that can't be tested, or say, oh, this does fit, even though it goes against everything. It somehow fits in there. So you're going to see that all of their experiments that they don't want to talk about contradict themselves.
We talk about these all the time, dummy. You don't understand it.
And then you're going to see how the globe earthers will deny facts to believe in some fantasy world nonsense.
Yep. Let's go to the next slide. So before we get into the Michelson-Morley experiment, this is the level of contradictions that we deal with these people. A lot of people.
All right. This is from Witsit. This is from Witsit, and you can find on my website my version of it. If you search for Einstein, right there. So I have his book. I have the actual physical copy of his book that he wrote in 1916. And oh, look at that! I have I have the same thing there. All right, so let's see what they say.
People may have seen these quotes from the legend himself. Witsit gets it, running the show, obviously. To the question whether or not the motion of the Earth in space can be made perceptible in terrestrial experiments, we have already remarked in section 5 that all attempts of this nature led to a negative result. Before the theory of relativity was put forward, it was difficult to become reconciled to this negative result.
Okay, I have that right here. Page 51 of my book. Right there. Now, watch this. One page over. One page. Bottom of this page. Right? So it's all of 2 pages prior to that statement. 2 pages prior. I'll bring it up right here. It says right here on in this book, 2 pages earlier. We refer to the yearly movement of the apparent position of the fixed stars resulting from the motion of the Earth around the sun, aberration, which is mentioned in the first paragraph of the Michelson-Morley paper, and to the influence of the radial components of the relative motion of the fixed stars with respect to the Earth on the color of light reaching us from them. Two specific things that Einstein identified that measured the Earth moving around the sun. So now we've got that. Two places he said we know that the Earth is moving around the sun. So now when we go to this here, and it says whether or not the motion of the Earth in space can be made perceptible in terrestrial experiments, we can be certain these were not the experiments he was talking about, because these experiments definitely measured the orbit of the Earth around the sun. These words don't apply to these experiments. It's just the 2 pages earlier. Whatever it is that he's talking about in terrestrial experiments aren't these. You cannot be confused about that. It's not just the same book, the same speech. It's 2 pages prior. It's the same chapter. So make sure, Kaleb, Whitsitt, when you read that thing that you want to read there, that you keep in mind that 2 pages earlier, Einstein identified 2 ways that the Earth moves and how we know it moves.
The next slide, let's read the next quote real quick. While I was thinking of this problem in my...
So now this one is in 1922, a speech he gave in German, written down later in Japanese by somebody that was at the speech. Not a transcription, somebody writing from memory what Einstein said, and then translated to English.
Student years, I came to know the strange result of Michelson's experiment. Soon I came to the conclusion that our idea about the motion of the Earth with respect to the ether is incorrect. If we admit Michelson's null result as a fact, this was the first path which led me to the special theory of relativity. Since then, I have come to believe that the motion of the Earth cannot be detected by any optical experiment. So this is Einstein himself. And
oh, he didn't read the rest of that quote, did he?
You can show these quotes.
I didn't want to put it up on screen. He didn't read the rest of it. What does that bottom sentence say, Kaleb? Why didn't you read it? Why didn't you read it, Kaleb?
The Globers, me and Derek do this in debates. We'll show these quotes to them where he's clearly talking about the motion of the Earth around the sun in an orbit, and he's admitting that we cannot make this optically apparent.
Oh, clearly you're misunderstanding him, because he gave two ways right here. That is optical. So whatever it is that he said in that speech in Japan, he was not talking about aberration of light or redshift. He wasn't. Whatever it was that he was saying there, these 2 experiments were not included in that. Also, he did say, though the Earth is revolving around the sun. It's part of the sentence. Now, at least Whitsitt corrected himself, because he got trashed on this, by leaving it off, because they'll put a period in instead of a comma and then end the quote.
In experiments. So there you heard it right before we get into the Michelson-Morley experiment itself. He's admitting that no optical or terrestrial experiments can prove that we are moving around the sun.
Except for aberration and redshift.
Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, and the globe earthers will deny this, and they'll say that we're taking it out of context because the last part of the sentence is...
Oh, yeah, I didn't even read that. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, address that. Yeah, address that.
They'll say we take it out of context because the last sentence here gets left off. That's the thing in question, is the moving around the Earth. He believes, Albert Einstein believed the Earth was orbiting, but he couldn't prove it.
But he could. Let me read it again for you. We refer to the yearly movement of the apparent position of the fixed stars resulting from the motion of the Earth around the sun, aberration. He proved it once. And to the influence of the radial components of the relative motion of the fixed stars with respect to the Earth on the color of light reaching us from them. 2, he proved it twice. You just left that out because it's inconvenient for you. Hey, Shifty Eyes Shady. If you want to come in here and get trashed, I'll trash you. But if you're just going to be in the chat and just like spamming junk, don't do that. Right? Have a conversation like an adult. Or maybe you're a child. Maybe you're 7 and you don't understand to have a conversation. Go ask a big person to help you out and to tell you when you're doing something wrong. But if you are an adult, pretend like you are one.
That there is the point of this entire presentation is they can't prove anything. They just change their hypothesis to match the outcome of the experiments. As you're about to see, they do that everywhere. And another thing is, like, if you're to believe the globe theory, you're to believe that space is nothing. It's an empty vacuum, right? Well, even they know that doesn't work. That's why they created dark matter and dark energy to fill the voids of all of this empty space, because the theory of relativity and gravity, those barely cover 3, I think maybe 5% of the observations in the sky. There's not enough mass in certain places to see the observation that we do see. So they create something that you...
Such a deep misunderstanding of how any of that works. Right? These are things that people cover in, not in bachelor's degree programs. And here's this idiot that doesn't have any understanding of the topic, pretending like he is speaking like he knows what he's talking about. It's the ultimate top left. Ultimate.
You can't see, you can't prove or disprove, and say, see, this has to be it. They do this because they know it doesn't make sense that space is nothing, because nothing can't exist. So I just wanted to point that out before we jump over.
Yeah, and there's a good clip of Einstein himself admitting this in an interview in 1920, in which we'll show later in the slide. So be looking out for that. But this is the experiment right here. Michelson and Morley. This is the apparatus, as you guys can see on the bottom portion of the screen. They shot 2 perpendicular interferometry lasers, one perpendicular to the motion of the Earth, one with the motion of the supposed. We all know the Earth isn't moving around the sun. We're not in a heliocentric model, but they shot one with the motion of the Earth, one perpendicular. So what they were trying to get was a fringe shift between these that would make sense with the orbit around the sun. And we're going to go into the math.
And the hypothesis of ether. You missed that. That was an integral part of what they were talking about. Michelson, and Morley definitely thought that there was an luminiferous ether. It's in the title of the paper on the relative motion of the Earth and the luminiferous ether. You see, that's a critical part of it. The ether, in their hypothesis, is the medium that light travels through. It's not that they were just talking about the motion of the Earth. They're talking about the motion of the Earth through the ether. That's what they're talking about. You leave that off.
Now with the actual publication in the American Journal, where they show and they literally say the expected fringe shift and all of the math around it, which we didn't get, obviously, because we're not moving around the sun. And they did get
or we are moving around the sun and there's no ether.
A little bit of a fringe shift, but I don't know how Derek feels about this, but in my opinion, that could be the vortex of the ether affecting the equipment for sure. So similar to like I've been...
Oh, the vortex. Oh, I hope they get into that later. It's such a nonsense.
Researching, it's so confusing and it's so hard to find information on this, and everybody makes it so confusing. But from what I understand about Mach's principle is that there would be a translation of motion down to the Earth if there were a hard shell rotating above us.
There would be, according to relativity. But it would take millions of years to rotate one time. Yeah, you'll miss that later, won't you?
If anybody's seen the quote that Witsit mined up and had literally changed from Russian language to American, from what I understand.
From Russian language to American. Oh my gosh. It was written by Einstein, right? Is that the one you're talking about? What language did Einstein write in? Whitsitt found a paper written by Einstein, as I recall, and had somebody translate from German to English. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. From Russian to American.
By like 6 or 7 people. He admitted this in a letter from to Ernst Mach, of them talking about Mach's principle, where there would be a translation of motion. So that's what we're.
Yes, it's called Thuring. Thirring. Thuring, and then there's another one in there, another person that gets credit for it. One rotation for takes about 1 million years. All right, I'm going to end this poll quick. Are you a true earther? Yes, the Earth is a globe, 91%. No, Earth flat, 8%. Are 8% of you flurfs? All right, masochists.
We're probably seeing in the fringe shift of the Michelson-Morley experiment. But what would you add, Derek?
I just want to talk about a fringe shift. What this is it's a measurement of the light waves, and the faster the light, like if the light's traveling all
There's no way he's going to get this right.
All at the same speed, there won't be any difference. It'll line up perfectly. But if one of the light beams, as they interact, is moving slower or faster than the other, you'll see the waves will contrast, and you could tell that it's different. So when they run the test, if everything's the same and there's not a vary on the light speed, then they can determine that all of the light's moving at the same speed. Versus if there's a wave going down the middle of it, then this means that one of the lights was moving slower. And because of the motion of the Earth, one of them would be moving faster than the other because it's moving either with the Earth or not. But as you're going to find, the result was negative. They didn't detect any motion with this device, and it was way stronger and more sensitive than it needed to be.
All right. He kind of fumbled through that. I could tell this is a new topic for him. But yeah, they did not. They expected it because their hypothesis included the ether as the medium for light.
To be able to pick up this fringe shift, and it couldn't find it.
Yeah, it was 10 times more sensitive than it needed to be. The apparatus was admitted that it was 10 times more sensitive than it needed to be. And there's tons of physicists. We didn't add them into this. But there's tons of physicists that have literally admitted that it was more sensitive than it needed to be.
So, yes, it's definitely more sensitive than it needed to be if the ether exists. And it's been done many times since then, much more precisely, billions of times more precisely, literally.
Be that there was lots of problems with this, and hence why it led Einstein to his theory of relativity and special relativity. But let's jump to the next slide and start going over the American Journal. Okay. Oh, never mind. We're actually going to start with Looney McTooney. Okay, so I put this in here kind of as a joke, because this just shows the ineptitude of these people to be honest with anybody about anything. So if you were to go to your Google and just search biblical cosmology, you would see a flat earth with a firmament. And then we have here Loon McToon himself saying, and there's no debate on biblical cosmology. But as I just said, if you search biblical cosmology, you're going to see a flat earth with a firmament. And then he says, the Bible says the earth is a globe. And I hope that by now, everybody that's in here that is a true earther knows all the verses, like it's like clay under a sea.
Well, let's have a look. That is the one. That's the one that I knew was going to be in there. So if you go to my website, search for Bible. Yes, the Bible says the earth is spherical. There is no debate about it. Isaiah 40:22 in the Message. The Message is one of the many translations into English of the Bible. It says, God sits high above the round ball of earth. There is no debate. That is the Bible. The Bible says the earth is a round ball. Here's the Peshitta Holy Bible translated. Again, there is no debate. This is the Bible. It says, and him who sits on the sphere of the earth. No debate. Dewey Ream's Bible. It's a Bible. in English. There's no debate that it says, "It is he that sitteth upon the globe of the earth." There's no debate about it. It definitely says that in those three translations. But none of them in Isaiah 40:22 says the earth is flat. You might find that it says it's a circle, but it does not say it's flat. Isaiah 10:20 and to 23 says in the Message. Again, I mean, there's a bunch of them. I didn't get them all. But there it is. We'll finish here. What he started all over the globe. Again, the Message says that. No debate. It says the earth is a globe. Here, Isaiah 23, 6-8. Expanding throughout the globe, buying and selling all over the world. No debate. It says that in the Bible. I sound behind by by half a second. Sorry. Here's the Geneva Bible, a different translation again. He buildeth his spheres in the heaven, and hath laid the foundation of his globe on elements in the earth. And Bishop's Bible, same verse. He buildeth his sphere in the heaven, hath laid the foundation on the globe of elements of the earth, right? So these are similar translations. Older, quite a bit older. So now, is that it? Is that just that these couple translations say that? Well, no. Let me find this one here in Isaiah 40:22. Thanks to Round Thinker. You find Round Thinker. He's a native Hebrew speaker, lives in Israel, has a YouTube channel. Good guy. I talk to him often. He said so in Isaiah 40:22, where it says either circle or sphere. The Hebrew word is chug. I'm not going to pronounce it. I will say it wrong. I asked him to find in the Concordance of Hebrew and Chaldee Scriptures here. I have the PDF there. Page 284, page 300 of the PDF. Gives the definition of chug as either circle or sphere. Right there, and here's a clip from it. The middle one there. Noun, masculine, circle, sphere, right in the middle. So maybe that one's wrong. Maybe that's the wrong Hebrew word. I don't know. But certainly there is no debate. The Bible says that the earth is a round ball or a sphere. So, yeah, suck it up, Kaleb. There's no debate.
Steel and how the sun
Let me just say, though, that's not evidence of anything.
was stopped in the Bible. All of these things aren't possible on a.
Oh, Round Thinker's in the chat. A lot of the time you can't be in here because it's an inconvenient time for him. He says, tell everyone they're welcome to my Facebook page. Yeah, post it here. Round Thinker. I go to him for Hebrew stuff all the time. And that if you saw that video by Shimshon or Ben from Taboo Conspiracy, I've been talking with him about that. I have the script written and I'll be recording the video soon. Look for that on Friday. That would be somebody in Israel claims to have seen Crete from 616 miles away. It's hilarious. Hilariously bad.
Heliocentric model that's going 500,000 miles an hour through space, 4.4 billion miles a year. It's fixed upon its foundations that it can never be moved. So I kind of added this in here as a comedy piece just to show how like dishonest these people are. Like that's what we're up against.
Yep, you're up against me just identifying the truth. Right there. What are you going to do, Kaleb? It says it right there. You can go purchase your own physical copy of the Bible and read it with your own eyes, or have your mom read it to you. Right?
We just have to get the mainstream masses to understand that we're being honest, and we're being honest about history and what has happened. And these guys are just completely trying to mislead everybody. And I think the Michelson-Morley is a perfect experiment to do that, because it's just slandered. They just misrepresent it completely, because they do not want to admit that it didn't pick up the velocity around the sun, which again is 66,600 miles an hour, and should have.
And, you know, he went through that whole speech pretending to try to be the honorable one, the one that was for truth. And then he lies about the speed of the earth.
Have been completely apparent with the apparatus that they had.
Oh, 100%. And to add to the biblical thing, the first book of the Bible talks about the creation of the earth, but specifically it talks about how the earth was made before the sun. There were lights made, but not the sun. So what was the earth orbiting before the sun was made, right?
By the way, I think he's getting his things out of order.
Of the differences in the Bible, if it did say the earth were a globe, then you'd have a whole lot more people who believe it, who are true earthers, would think the earth is a globe. So
it would be really obvious, is what Derek's trying to say. It would be really obvious if we were on a ball. But let's hear McToon misrepresent the Michelson-Morley experiment before we explain the Michelson-Morley experiment. So let's hear it from him.
Here we go. The Sun Express says most ignored words by Fleurs, through the luminiferous ether. Yeah, and they love to say that they were trying to measure Earth's speed.
See how he can't look at the screen?
I was just about to pause it to say that. Pay attention to this guy here and how he's looking.
Pay attention to his body language.
Over.
Yeah, specifically.
Look at his eyes.
And as Einstein mentioned, there are reasons why we know that the Earth is moving. And so it's funny when he's like, that's a begging the question. Well, it was from Einstein, the guy you're trying to quote.
Yeah, and we already showed you guys the quotes of Einstein saying that there's no terrestrial or optical experiments. Kind of awkward, but there he was probably hoping I wouldn't screen record this and show this to people, but hence we did. Let's go on to the next.
You don't need to screen record it. It's still sitting on my channel. You could just download it. You don't have to screen record it.
Slide.
Here we go. The Sun Express said.
So here's the American Journal, and the stuff that I have, you'll see I put arrows and I put things in bold that are important. So I wanted to just kind of go through.
Oh, I called it.
These real quick. And right here, it says on the relative motion of the Earth and the luminiferous ether. So when these people say that we weren't trying to pick up motion at all, and they were just trying to detect the luminiferous ether, you can tell
they were trying to detect the Earth's motion through the luminiferous ether, identify the effects on light as the Earth travels through. Oh my gosh.
These people are being dishonest. There's a separation in the quote that's of and on the relative motion of the Earth and the luminiferous ether.
Oh, how
it's just the title.
How would you prove the Earth is moving without measuring, like, for them to say that the...
Oh, it's easy. Let's see. I can tell you how you do that. Right here. What you do is you would, we refer to the yearly movement of the apparent position of the fixed stars resulting from the motion of the Earth around the sun. Aberration. And from Doppler shift. Those are two ways.
It's to detect the Earth's motion through the ether, and then to turn around and deny that they're trying to detect the Earth's motion.
Oh my gosh.
It's hilarious.
They were trying to detect the effect on light as the Earth moved through the ether. Why is that so hard for you?
These guys crack me up.
Yeah, and it's really going to be obvious once we go through this a little.
All right, so you see there, he circled the upper left. You see that? Top left candidate Kaleb circled the top left. I called it, didn't I? Let's see where it is. Right there. So remember, just a couple minutes ago, I said he's going to point out the title here. Motion of the Earth, etc. It's the abbreviated title of the paper.
A little bit more. But as you can see here, motion of the Earth, etc. And then if you go onto the second page where it says let SA, and you can kind of compare what it's talking about to the graphs below. So it says Let SA figure 1 be a ray of light which is partly reflected in AB and partly transmitted in AC, being returned by the mirrors B and C along B and A and C and A and B and A. There's a lot of B and A and C and A going on here. Is partly transmitted along AD, and CA is partly reflected along AD. If then the paths of AB and AC are equal, the two rays interfere along AD. Suppose now the ether being at rest that the whole apparatus moves.
Suppose the ether being at rest. He said it, but I don't think he's comprehending it.
In the direction of SC with the velocity of the Earth in its orbit. And so admitting that they were trying to pick up a fringe shift with the velocity of the Earth in its orbit, trying to detect it. But
no, they were trying to detect the effect on light because of because of the orbit. What a dick. What an absolute dick he is. Oh my gosh. So dumb. So stupid. So wrong. And declaring himself to be right. Of course, he's just completely parroting Witsit. That's where he gets it.
Again, I have to reiterate, the heliosexuals are trying to say that they weren't trying to do this at all. But if you read the publications, they obviously were.
It's ridiculous that they would say that this is not about the motion of the Earth. I don't even know where their brains are at when they're making this claim. Like, you would have to, in order for this experiment to work, you'd have to measure the motion of the Earth to get the outcome that they wanted. But it failed to prove what they wanted. And then this is why they came up with the special theory of relativity.
Well, he got that right. Right? Their hypothesis was wrong. The ether being the part of the hypothesis that was wrong.
Because this experiment failed to prove the Earth is in motion.
No, it didn't. This experiment failed. And the reason why it failed is because the ether doesn't exist. You could propose lots of hypotheses why this had a null result. Many. And they did. They went through many and they wrote them down. And when they looked at the different possibilities of things that might be why this experiment came out null, there's a whole bunch that they said, that's probably not it. They said, well, could the Earth be stationary? I said, no, there's a whole bunch of other things, like the aberration of light and the redshift. Those things tell us that the Earth is in motion. So that part of it, that's wrong. Could it be that the ether is moving with the Earth, that the ether does exist and is moving with the Earth? Well, that's a little better idea. Other things disconfirm that, but in isolation, maybe. Jeez.
Yep, exactly. So right here, this is just a little bit of the math that is listed in the publication. So as you can see here, I've put an arrow on the lowercase v, velocity of the Earth in its orbit, and
a known number coming into it. They knew the velocity from prior experiments.
You can easily find this publication. So why are we showing this to everybody? We're showing this to everybody.
To mock yourselves for being stupid? No. To publicly display that you don't understand what you're talking about? No. I don't know. I mean, that's what you're doing.
So that they can take these arguments to the heliosexuals, to the globers, to the globies, however you want to reference them. I really prefer heliosexuals, but you can take this to them.
Poor guy. I mean, he said he's got a girlfriend, but maybe he's not getting any.
And show them, hey, this is how we know that we're not orbiting around the sun. We had an apparatus that's 10 times more sensitive than it needed to be, and we couldn't detect it. It's
assuming that the ether exists.
Not there. It's completely nil. And then even here after the map, what's underlined here, it says, if the whole apparatus be turned at 90 degrees, the difference will be in the opposite direction, saying that if they were to turn the entire apparatus from not going along with the velocity of the Earth around the sun, going against it, we should see the same fringe shift going back and forth. But as we
all of they totally miss, just constantly miss that the ether is part of it. It's the ether that is falling apart here.
We've known, and plenty of people have done experiments to try to detect this after them. Nobody's able to detect it because we are completely stationary.
All right, so this really goes into their big misunderstanding, right? So remember, this experiment here was pivotal. With the hypothesis of the ether, this didn't work. And they went through a bunch of things. They said, maybe the Earth is stationary. Maybe the ether doesn't exist. That's the one that came out as the champion. Maybe the ether does exist and it moves at the same rate as the Earth. Maybe the ether compresses the apparatus as it moves through the ether. That's another one that they thought about. Einstein wrote about that particular one in his book because Lorentz had suggested that one. And they didn't throw out that, they didn't go with Earth stationary because there's other reasons. They didn't go with Earth moving, ether moving, because there's other things. In the end, they said the idea of the ether causing things to compress doesn't work because there's no explanation for how that could happen. How could the ether cause steel to compress the same amount as it causes styrofoam to compress or air to compress? None of that makes sense because of how we know structure works. The statics and dynamics of physical bodies, physical material, doesn't make sense. How ether could cause everything to compress the same, independent of its properties. So like, all right, well, how about ether doesn't exist? Well, that wasn't something that people thought coming into it, but Einstein said, hey, let's give it a shot. And special relativity said, nope, there is no luminiferous ether, and here's how it works. And it seemed to be the one that, as of 1905, that explained it the best. And it took some time, of course. It wasn't instantly accepted. So, all right. Let me read a couple things. I'm a little behind in the super chat. So, String News 1 says, obviously they don't want the truth to be heard. Kyle says, for $5, have you seen Professor Dave James Tour debate? Sorry if you've mentioned this already. I have not. I have a lot to follow already. My list of things to just catch up on is big. So I do intend to watch it. It was apparently a big thing. That particular topic isn't a topic that I follow too closely, so I'm not super interested in it, so I'm not going to. That's why I'm not seeking it out, but I will. It's been big enough, and they're big names, and so I'll definitely watch it. Cal L Cool J says yippee-ki-yay. We all know what's the next words. Verillion says everyone knows you have to drive 88 miles per hour with a power source of 1.21 gigawatts. I said that already. I love that. Mr. Zero for $5 says Big Bad Flurf didn't show up. I'm shocked. Who knew a powerful Egyptian deity could be such a cowardly butt nugget? I was looking forward to the dumbs. Yep. Still no answer. The big tough guy. Let's see if I'll call that group chat. There's a few others in it. Like Takori. Takori's in it. We'll see if he answers. Ring ring. Ring ring. It's a little different having a group chat call. Why would Takori, he's just, or not Takori, Javante, fake Ra Thoth. He's such a doofus. So, oh my gosh. Like, he can't do anything. he can't. He doesn't. He actually literally doesn't do anything with his life. Poor guy. All right. Are You Kidding Me says, will you be watching the new Level movie here? Yes. Yes, I should. I watched it all already. I have some stuff planned on responding to it, but yeah, I think a live viewing would be in order. We did, Craig and I watched like the first half of the previous one a year ago, so we should just do that again here. So I will talk with him and we'll get a viewing in. Scheduled or scheduled. Gregorio Gannon V says, who does everyone think got to Ra-Thoth first? The CIA, the FBI, or his girlfriend? Yeah, his girlfriend keeps his stones in her purse. He doesn't get to see them very often. Danny says, Mixhoon, we love you. Thanks for the laughs. Well, thank you, Danny. For that, Lael said, could the experiment have even worked if Michelson had not measured the speed of light prior to this? Yes. So Michelson measured the speed of light, and he got credit for it and was celebrated for it. There were others before him, and he had improved on their techniques, but really, one of the earliest good measurements, when you look at the data, is 1725 James Bradley in his Aberration of Light paper. And if you want a copy of it, you can find it on my website. If you search for Bradley, you should be able to find it. Let me see if it's. So I'm working on a paper, not a paper, a page. There it is. Yeah. I'm working on a page specifically that goes over the two things that Einstein mentioned in this book, and the actual like papers and things for it. So I have the aberration. I'll show you what I have here. Here's it's just called Earth Around the Sun. And so he talked about it there. And so an aberration is the first section. And I linked to his right here, James Bradley's publication, and then for as an interest, the Encyclopedia Britannica issues or editions back to 1771. I have 10 of them, and their article that includes aberration. If you'll see here, the 10th edition of Encyclopedia Britannica was just actually an addendum. It did not include an addendum to aberration. So that's why it's missing from the list. But yeah, let's here's the paper. And here's the cool thing. If you were on my Discord server as I was reading this, I was putting screenshots of this. So here, I'll read it. I'll read it to you with how my mind first read it when I first looked at it. You have been pleased to express your satisfaction with what I had an opportunity some time ago of telling you in conversation concerning foam observations that were making by our late worthy and ingenious friend, the Honorable Samuel Molyneux, Esquire, and which have since been continued and repeated by myself in order to determine the parallax of the fixed stars. I shall now beg leave to lay before you a more particular account of them. The long S. It looks like an F without the crossbar. I love that. I love that. All right, I got to read this from PhD Tony. It said, if their interpretation of Michelson and Morley were correct, then the conclusion would have read, we have determined Earth is stationary and luminiferous ether remains a viable hypothesis. Yes, that definitely would be. Though they did limit the paper to being just a reporting of the results. It probably would have come later. Maybe, I don't know. Certainly, because that paper spawned a whole bunch of people talking about it and thinking about, well, what it was. But I'll get to why it doesn't work in a little bit here.
Airy, we're fixed upon our foundations. We're never moving. The Earth's not moving.
Well, if the Earth were moving, there's a lawsuit out there that says if you could prove the Earth is in motion in any direction, 50 miles an hour or more, then you win some money. But
oh, it sounds like the second law of Flurf, which here I'll we're going to my website a lot tonight, aren't we? The laws of Flurf. The second law of Flurf is Flurf challenges are fake, no exceptions. So whoever is claiming that they will pay if Earth's motion is proved to be more than 50 miles an hour, well, I present to you page 52 of this book. 52? Nope, no, not 52. 49, page 49 of this book, and James Bradley's paper from 1725. So you tell me who it is, I'll submit my my answer to them, and then they'll say nuh-uh.
But nobody could prove this because the best minds in science have already concluded that you can't detect the motion of the Earth.
No, nobody concluded that, you liar.
From the surface of the Earth. The globe people make the claims that the scientists of the past would never make. These people would admit that both models work. They'd admit that you can't prove that you're moving from the Earth. And today's globe people are going to sit around and make these claims, these positive claims, mind you, without any evidence. And all of the evidence that they have contradicts their belief.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
what an absolute ass. Completely wrong. Derek, you complete turd. That whole ramble of lies there, Derek. You're ignorant. You didn't look at any of this. You're just parroting your stupid Papa Flurf, and you have no comprehension of this at all.
I talked to, if anybody hasn't seen the live stream that I did with McToon talking about the Cavendish experiment, when I brought this up, I asked him, what is your best evidence that we are moving in a motion around the sun in an orbit? Because I asked him straight up, do you think it's detectable? And he said the sidereal motion of the sky. So
no, I didn't, you liar. I didn't say the sidereal motion of the sky. I would... There are things that I would certainly reference. I would reference... go to my webpage. Seriously. mc2.net/spin. Measurements of the Earth's rotation using optical gyroscopes and using non-optical methods like superfluid phase coherence, diamagnetically levitating gyroscope, a MEMS gyroscope, which is a small circuit. An apparatus for measuring the speed of the rotation of the Earth, 250 centimeter spinning disc with 30 kilograms. Those are what I would refer to. You also could look at the dual rotating celestial poles, which confirms two things, that the Earth is a sphere and that the Earth is rotating. Now, Robert Sungenis will say that confirms that the Earth is a sphere, and he will claim that it means that the sky is rotating. But neither of those work with flat Earth, and Robert Sungenis's doesn't work with reality, because we know that the stars are far away. Too far away for them to be moving at that speed and not be moving faster than the speed of light. The nearest, I think it's even one of the planets. So let's say, I think that if Uranus was moving at that rate, or Neptune, one or the other, was rotating around us, it would have to be faster than the speed of light. Somebody can correct me. Certainly, though, the nearest star would have to be moving faster than the speed of light to move as fast as it does because of the distance that we know what it is. So no, I did not say the sidereal motion of the sky. Liar.
Which can obviously be explained in our model by the firmament just rotating at 15 degrees per hour.
Except it's too far away. It doesn't work.
So it's not proof of his model or our model, in my opinion. It's just it's just trying to mislead people. So these people will look at the sky to try to prove their model. They'll look at the sky and say, oh, look, we're seeing orbs. We're seeing balls in the sky.
Yeah. And we're happy to do that. You don't like it because it destroys your precious dirt pizza.
That necessitates that we're on a ball. Their logical analysis of cosmology is completely so flawed that we're trying to just make it so obvious today, so that you guys can have some ammo to take to these people.
Well, and further down in the presentation, we're going to use the lights in the sky to disprove the ball Earth.
No, you're not.
So you're gonna want to stick around and see the Airy's failure explanation.
Oh my gosh.
This is an experiment where we use the lights to prove we're not moving. I did just want to touch on what you were talking about, sidereal day. There's two different types of days that happen every single day. There's the sidereal day, and then there's the solar day. All of our clocks are set to solar days. Your watch, your TV, all of these things. Sidereal days actually are faster by 4 minutes. So the stars turn 4 minutes faster every single day. But if all of that motion is from the Earth moving and the Earth moves at a continuous speed, how do we have different speeds for the sun and the stars? The globe people will tell you it's because of the orbit. But if you really look into that topic, you'll see that day and night switch places.
Oh my gosh, it's because of the difference between solar and sidereal day. You just gave the answer already, dummy.
In order for that to work, but we don't adjust our clocks for that, and it still somehow switch places. So something you guys should definitely look into is sidereal days and solar days, and just see what these people are like dipping.
He's like a child. It's the mind of a 4-year-old that's trying to talk as if they know something.
And dodging and ducking to avoiding to ever even talk about.
Yep. Let's keep going. We're getting close on time. I want to get through all of the slides. So let's go to the next slide. So here's just I just wanted to show these just because I feel that it's good information for you guys to look back over if you want to see the publications themselves. But these 2 pages are just kind of talking about the sensitivity of the apparatus, how awesome it was, how it definitely should have picked up the orbit around the sun, but it didn't. So let's go on to the next slide. And then here, one back a little bit.
I didn't see it.
So
just for reference, the left side is cut off. That's the original video. That's what it is.
Here, if we read this on the left side, the paragraph below all the charts, that's where I'm starting. The results of the observation are expressed graphically in figure 6. The upper is the curve for the operation at noon, and the lower that for the evening operations. Observations, the dotted curves represent 1/8 of the theoretical displacements. It seems fair to conclude from the figure that if there were any displacement due to the relative motion, talking about axial rotation.
Actually, that's not axial rotation. That's talking about the speed through the ether. So it's the speed of the Earth in its orbit.
Of the Earth and the luminiferous ether, this cannot be much greater than 0.001 of the distance between the fringes. Considering, again, underlined because it's important, considering the motion of the Earth in its orbit only, this displacement should be a bunch of math. And
a bunch of math. That's not math, that's a number. That's a number. All right, let's look at that's the top of page. All right, hold on. It's a bunch of math. All right, hold on. There it is. All right, there's that one, and then here's the bunch of math right up here. Oh, it is. It's not just a number. Displacement should be 2d v squared over capital V squared equals 2d times 10 to the negative 8. The distance d was about 11 meters, or 2 2 times 10 to the 7 wavelengths of yellow light. Hence the displacement to be expected was 0.4 fringe. A bunch of math.
It explains the math in the pages before. If you're really curious and you want to go look at the publication, the distance D was about 11 meters or 2 times 10 to the 7th power wavelengths of yellow light. Hence, the displacement to be expected was 0.4 fringe. The actual
0.4
displacement was certainly less than the 20th part of this and probably less than the 40th part. But since the displacement is proportional to the square of the velocity, the relative velocity of the Earth and the ether is probably less than 1/6 of the Earth's orbital velocity, and certainly less than 1/4. Talking about what they should have seen from the experiment and what they didn't get from it. And then down here at the bottom, the results of this experiment literally led them to say this in the publication. It is obvious from what has gone before that it would be hopeless to attempt to solve the question of the motion of the solar system by observations of optical phenomena and at the surface of the Earth. So what they're saying is, unless you're at the sun, unless you're at the moon, unless you're out in space, which doesn't exist, it's a fairy tale. It's a religious belief to believe.
That's not what they're saying, you liar.
Believe that we are orbiting around the sun. It's a religious dogmatic belief.
So look, he put those words in their mouth. Listen to what he said.
What has gone before that it would be hopeless to attempt to solve the question of the motion of the solar system by observations of optical phenomena and at the surface of the Earth. So what they're saying is
what he just said. So listen to the words that he's about to say, because he's claiming that this is what they said.
Is unless you're at the sun, unless you're at the moon, unless you're out in space, which doesn't exist, it's a fairy tale. It's a religious belief to believe that we are orbiting around the sun. It's a religious dogmatic belief to believe that the solar system is moving at 500,000 miles an hour or the 1.2 million miles per hour, whatever they claim is going on in their fantasy Narnia land. But
none of that is what they were saying. None of that is what they were saying. Yes, this level of smug is disgusting.
They're literally admitting it here. And these people are...
No, the reason why is because the motion of the solar system in relation to the orbit of the solar system around the galaxy was a new thing at the time. So their hypothesis was that the sun relied on the sun being the center and being the sun being stationary in a pure sense, in an absolute sense. So that's outside of the motion of the sun around the solar system, around the galaxy. And so when they're saying this doesn't include that, this is because this was rather new information. They're like, yeah, well, since we didn't identify motion around the sun, this other motion, which would be faster, also isn't going to be something we can identify. So much smarter than the Globers that we're getting on TikTok, than Fight the Tight Shirt. Sorry, I almost said his name correctly. McToon, and definitely Simon Dan. So when these people are saying it, I love how they hate Simon Dan so much. Like, he doesn't even interact with them. They just can't get enough trashing his name. Why don't these people just believe it and honestly represent them? If it's so obvious that we're on a ball, then they wouldn't be misrepresenting the publications that are out there for. But we're not, you dick. We're not. We read it. We understand it. You don't. For people to read. You just look at numbers. You're like, that's a bunch of math. You don't understand math.
There'd be no need to, because if this were that obvious, they would just prove it. They wouldn't come on to our side.
Oh, yeah. All right, hold on. I got it. I got you covered there, Derek. Right here. Aberration of light, 1725.
And try to mislead people with documents that we don't believe in and different models that aren't ours, and try to mislead people into this topic in the wrong direction. So the more you see that, the more you see these people attacking and creating straw man arguments that don't support what we believe, it should just become more obvious that they are really trying hard to discredit this. So you don't.
Yeah, we are trying hard to discredit you. Well, I mean, you discredit yourself, but You are. I mean, you're a big turd. You're a big turd, Derek. That's what you are. That's why part of it. Anyway, let's go.
Don't give it the time of day.
Yep. Let's hurry through. Okay, and
I don't know what he said. RE is a quick video ascribing the irrement in case weren't clear. Ow.
here's a quick video that we wanted to just display for you guys of somebody in the mainstream admitting this about the experiment, showing his opinion on it. And so let's hear that real quick. This is just a quick 1-minute video, and then we'll move on to the next experiment.
He said in the mainstream, by the way.
Experiment.
They created two light paths of equal length.
You might need to turn it up a little bit.
With downstream mirrors that reflected the light to a receiver. They placed the light paths on a turntable.
So this guy isn't in the mainstream, as they say. He denies relativity, by the way.
So that they can aim the paths in any direction with respect to the movement of the Earth. They reasoned that if they could aim one of the light paths in the direction of Earth's motion, then the other light path would be at right angles to the direction of Earth's motion, and they should see a difference in the time required for light to travel along the two paths. It all made a lot of sense, and they were hoping to compute the speed of the Earth through space with the results of their experiment. Well, they were shocked by the answer. It took exactly the same amount of time for light to travel along both paths, regardless of the direction in which they were in at the turntable. They tried the experiment in the spring, the fall, the summer, the winter, during the day, at night. No matter when they performed the experiment, they never saw a difference in the time required for light to travel along the two paths. And yes, their apparatus was sensitive enough to detect a difference if one really existed. And yes, the Earth really does move through space, even though some eccentrics have claimed that the Michelson-Morley result proves that the Earth is flat. And the
I love that they're including this.
sun really does orbit the Earth. Michelson-Morley were stymied by the result. It suggested either that there was no ether.
So there we are. I mean, they're so used to everything destroying flat Earth that they miss that this was the first law of Flurf right there. Their own citation contradicted them.
Somehow the ether was being dragged along with the Earth as it moved through space, an idea that was eventually ruled out with further experiments. Various other explanations were offered, one of which will be the subject of the next episode, length contraction. I don't think it's the correct answer, but it's the answer that has been accepted by the scientific community and was
You see, he just said, I don't think it's the correct answer, but it's the answer accepted by the scientific community. This guy does not accept relativity. He is not in the mainstream, as they said. I like this guy a lot better than the flat earthers, right? They're actually trying to apply math. The people that deny relativity, they're goofy. But they're trying to apply math. They're trying to actually do science. I think they're getting it wrong, but they're actually trying. Flat earthers don't try, right? They don't come up. If they did, they'd say, here's a map. And then if it was shown to be wrong, they'd go back and they'd come up with a different map. They'd explain the cause for the downward acceleration and the magnitude of the downward acceleration. They don't try that. They just come up with words. Word salad and magic buzz phrases.
incorporated in Einstein's special theory of relativity.
So as you guys can see there, he does one of two things. He says that the apparatus not picking up the motion around the sun supposedly proved that the Earth was flat and that the sun and
Mr. X, Mr. Y said the first law of Flurf is gotta lie to Flurf. No, that's an axiom. The first law of Flurf is all Flurf citations contradict the Flurf's position.
moon locally rotate over us. That's not at all what we're claiming happened with the Michelson-Morley experiment. As you guys have seen in the publications, all that we think that this proves is that the Earth isn't moving at all. There's no motion to the Earth, as well as he invokes length contraction or Lorentz contraction. I'm not sure exactly what the specific term would be, but length contraction is complete pseudoscience, literally assuming that matter is contracting in the motion of the velocity of the Earth around.
Yeah, and that was thrown out. It was, and Witsit misses this, because Einstein spoke of that in his book, that Lorentz is the one that suggested things actually compress in relation to the absolute frame of the sun, right? Keeping that there is an absolute frame. There is such thing as not moving in space, right? That the sun was stationary at the center. And then that, we talked about it before, that length contraction, that the ether, the movement through the ether somehow compressed everything the same amount. It was thrown out. Special relativity instead is what what was put in place. It uses the same formula, but it doesn't say that it actually within your frame compresses. It says to somebody else, it seems to compress relative to them. Thus the name relativity.
Around the sun, which is just completely insane for people to believe, honestly.
Well, and think about what that experiment is. One of the light beams is moving with the Earth, and the other one would be moving against it, but they return at the same time. So that means one of these two lights has a longer distance to travel, and it traveled a longer distance in the same amount of time. If the Earth is moving, it would have a longer distance. Otherwise, it'd be identical if we're not moving, which is what it showed. So
exactly. Let's keep going.
Michelson-Morley experiment, they created two like that.
So what other experiments should we be talking about? The next one that we're going to be talking about,
all right, I'm going to cover, I'll cover this. I've done it before, but I think it's worth repeating. Because they are saying, because they're keeping ether. They never once, you never notice, they never once talked about, well, maybe the ether didn't exist. They all say the ether exists. All through that whole discussion, they absolutely demand that the ether exists. So what if the ether exists and the Earth was stationary and the ether was stationary in relation to the Earth? What if that was the case? That's what they're claiming. Well, then when you get to the Michelson-Gale experiment, Michelson-Gale was similar to Michelson-Morley, but it had a big rectangle instead of this plus or the L-shaped thing. It was a big rectangle. Light went both directions around it. And it did get a fringe shift. To them, they say, oh, that's the vortexing ether. But wait a second. With Michelson-Morley, Earth stationary, ether stationary. With Michelson-Gale, Earth stationary, ether vortexing. Which one is it? It can't be both stationary and vortexing simultaneously. Not both. You have to pick one. You can't. So they don't like talking about it. Whitsitt knows never to talk about it. He knows. Because I brought it up to him once. And now he knows he can't bring it up.
You can just go to the next slide, is going to be Airy's failure. If anybody hasn't heard about Airy's failure, or if you
I'm anxious to hear them misunderstand it.
This is just a quick refresher. We're going to play a 1-minute video and just chat about it after, but this is the handsome George Biddle Airy and what he did with the telescope to prove that the sky is moving and not the Earth. So let's play this little clip that I've put on here.
yeah, this is
Again, the hypothesis of Airy's failure includes ether.
experiment that got me intrigued right here.
Shout out Malcolm Bowden. It's going to play.
Oh, hold on. It's not on screen. There you go.
Turn it up a little bit. Can you guys hear it?
No.
On my end, I can't hear it, Derek.
Nope.
You might have to restart it.
I don't hear it. Derek, turn it up.
Do you see the volume at the bottom right of that bar?
Come on, Derek. Get your act together. Figure things out, man. Oh my gosh. Flurfs in tech.
5-degree tipping, however, could equally be caused by the ether moving at 5 miles an
There
hour,
you go.
carrying the stars around the Earth. As we see here, the light would be coming in at the same angle, and the telescope would still have to be tipped 5 degrees. So tipping the telescope does not tell us whether it is the starlight moving or the telescope moving. However, there is a simple experiment that can determine whether it was the Earth that was moving or the ether and starlight. All that you had to do was record the tipping required for any particular star,
Then fill the telescope with water, which greatly slows down the speed of light in the telescope. So here is the moving telescope filled with water, tipped at 5 degrees, and you can see that the starlight does not now reach the eyepiece at the bottom. This is because the starlight moves much
Pause it
more
just for a second.
passing through water. However, if the telescope is tipped further,
Pause it.
say
The bar
2 degrees,
disappeared.
then the starlight
Golly.
The bar disappeared. Come on, Caleb. Notice it says ether right there on the screen. All this presumes ether.
What he is simulating by moving the telescope is the Earth moving with the telescope in relation to the sky. So what we should see here, if it is the Earth, if the Earth is actually spinning, revolving, orbiting, doing all of these different movements,
and the ether exists,
there's no way with the refractive index of water that the starlight should be able to reach the bottom of the telescope if it's actually the Earth moving, or if it's actually the sky moving. Then if the telescope is filled with water, then it will still reach the bottom no matter what, because the telescope is stationary. That's essentially what he's getting to, unless you'd word that any differently, Derek.
Yeah, so basically they're trying to simulate the Earth moving and pointing it as the Earth would move, it would change its apparent location to the star. And by slowing down the light, you could measure that motion because it moves slower. So you'd be able to see if it makes it down to the bottom or not. So what you're going to see here in a second is what actually does happen when you fill the telescope with water. And it's not what they think.
Oh my goodness. And he still can't get the audio. Ah, see, the ether's moving.
The starlight stays on the same path, but is only traveling slower in the water. To recap, if it is the telescope that is moving, then when it is filled with water, it has to be tipped further to see the star. If the telescope is stationary and the starlight drifting past us, then it does not have to be tipped further.
Exactly.
So in when did they do the no ether version of it? They didn't. All this presumes ether.
Proving that we are not on a spinning space rock. But let's keep going. I know we only have a limited amount of time, so let's try to get through and hopefully do a little bit of...
Oh my gosh. The conclusion. Look at that bold claim that they made there. I mean, that you can test to see if that was their conclusion, because it's right here on my website. Here, let's have a look to see what the well, I mean, I already put it here. Conclusion: I think myself justified in concluding that the hypothesis of Professor Klinkerfues is untenable. No, that wasn't they did not. No, that's, you see what they said. No, Professor Klinkerfues is untenable. That was the claim. Well, so I went and found what he said. Klinkerfues inferred that the angle of refraction would be influenced by the motion of the Earth, and he attempted to detect the inferred effect. Historical Studies in the Physical Sciences, Volume 7. The experiment did not detect ether. That's what they concluded. Silly rabbits.
Question and answers, some Q&A. So we can just skip past this slide as well. We've already kind of talked about that. Now,
here we go.
So this is Einstein himself directly contradicting himself in an interview in 1920, talking about the ether. So let's talk about this. Will definitely correlate to the next topic, which
I have not heard this or seen this, if this is a video or audio of him, but I do know that there are many versions of ether. The luminiferous ether, as described by Michelson, is distinct from dozens of other versions of ether. So don't be confused by the word ether in thinking that it is the specific medium in which light travels through that Michelson-Morley was talking about.
we're going to go into, which is the Sagnac effect, which is used in ring laser gyroscopes all over the world, GPSs, and all sorts of different stuff. So let's hear what Einstein actually feels about the ether, because in special relativity, he said it didn't exist. So let's hear him say and contradict himself in 1920.
Einstein's theory of relativity. It was Einstein who in 1920 said,
there are weighty arguments to be adduced in favor of the ether hypothesis. To deny the ether is ultimately to assume that empty space has no physical qualities whatsoever. The fundamental facts of mechanics do not harmonize with this view. According to the general theory of relativity, space is endowed with physical qualities. In this sense,
and that's all that I have. That's the end of the clip that I have. Maybe there's more. So, back to Thuring. I mentioned Thuring earlier. The Thuring or frame dragging. Frame dragging is something that is, you see, you could call it, instead of frame dragging, you could call it ether dragging, if you wanted. But it's such an overloaded term, and so you need to come up with a different name than just ether. It's just kind of a catch-all. A medium in which stuff exists. So, all right. Well, that's too bad. I didn't download their entire clip. I can't go through all of it now. But they did talk about, they hinted at what the next topic was, which I already covered. The Sagnac effect, Michelson-Gale. So I'm going to have to get the rest of it and listen, but I'm pretty sure they're going to completely screw that up. And I don't know how they're going to get away from it. They probably just will say it's measuring the sidereal rotation. But no, they have to say that it's the ether, the luminiferous ether. And that it is vortexing, that it's moving instead of being stationary. Incompatible with their previous claim that the ether is stationary along with the Earth. So I got a couple super chats here. I didn't answer the question, Lael. Could this experiment have even work if Michelson had not measured the speed of light prior to this? It could have worked. Because I think they needed to know the velocity of the Earth. Well, I mean, they came out with a no result. Their hypothesis numbers might have been different if they didn't, if they had a different value for the speed of light, or if they did not know the speed of light. They could have said, well, there just will be a fringe shift, but we don't know how much. So there you go. Grithog says, clip him saying, I prefer, and then I'm not going to say it. I'll wait a little bit, and then I'm going to say it now. Heliosexuals. Clip him saying that. That's funny. The casual engineer for 10 Australians says there are plenty of things you can observe without any equipment or even a computer that shows we are orbiting. Signs of the zodiac are not all seen in one night. Do your own experiment. Oh, yeah. And, 10 Australian dollars tells me that you might be in Australia, where you could see the counter-rotating celestial pole down there. But you're talking about orbiting. Yes. Yes. Orbiting is certainly a little more difficult to be precise about. But yeah, we can do it. The grumpy old mechanic says, did you leave out the Compton generator? Arthur Compton demonstrated rotation and latitude with the fluid-filled torus in 1913. I did leave that out, but thank you for reminding me. I got that superfluid phase coherence. It has a liquid helium-3 in supercritical at a supercritical temperature. So that did cover a version of it, but yeah, it's important to get the old versions as well, because not everybody has buckets of liquid helium sitting around. Cretan Bull says, these guys devote so much time and energy learning made-up BS. If they were genuinely interested, science in science, they could have degrees by now. Titicaca. No, they couldn't have degrees by now. If they were genuinely interested in science, they could actually learn science. But I don't think either Derek or Kaleb are actually smart enough to get degrees in science. They didn't get to where they are because they have an inclination for it. They got to where they are because they don't have an inclination for it. Because they're not good at science. Because they're not good at understanding things. Brianna Johnson said, can you please ask Ross/Thoth, what's the best way to trim my camel toes? Would the device you had on the prior show replace my Orgasmatron? We want Sam. Well, I've got some good news for you. Sam thinks that he's going to be on next week. So there's that. Number 2, I'm going to be on, I think, 2 different podcasts next week. I'll let you know when they come out. Number 3, June 6th. June 6th is the Flurf cosplay. Find Industrial Nerd. If you go to my my website, you'll find Flurf cosplay if you search for it. And then you can find Industrial Nerd off of there to sign up for June 6th Flurf cosplay. And then I'm thinking, hold on, June 8 or 15. Either June 8, probably June 8, maybe June 14, but probably, I don't know, as a meetup somewhere in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. If anybody would like to kind of figure out where that might be a good place to have it. Do we want it outside? Do we want it inside? Somebody had emailed me asking if he could borrow my my P1000, which I don't have. I don't own it. I am borrowing it from Joe Hill. So I will, and if Joe comes, maybe I'll give it back to him at the time. So, Judy got this as King Crew might come up to get his book. Yeah, come on up. So if you have a preference for a date or a preference for a location, let me know. I probably in the next few days will have to decide when and where so that I can be sure that I get it set up. All right. Yeah. So there it is. Those are the important things coming up. A meetup. And yes, cosplay, Flurf cosplay. You dress up as your favorite Flurf. Get ready. And it's good. It's really good if you like go to and let Industrial Nerd know so that he can kind of write it down. I mean, I know everybody wants to be Bro Sanchez, right? We just can't have 73 people come in as Bro Sanchez. So you got to pick. Judy, you got this, has a suggestion for the location: Southern Arizona. Southern Arizona in June is a hard pass. Not a chance. Minnesota in January. Yeah, all right. I'll go to Southern Arizona. But in June, no, I'm good here. Anyway, so there it is. People. Thank you for this. Too bad Goofball didn't show. Still nothing. I'm gonna have to tear him up for being a chicken. I knew that he probably wouldn't. That's why I prepped this video here. So, what about the Darien Gap? Timbo Turtle says, I will come as Flurf evidence, so you might not see him there. Spring News 1 says, I've been to Rochester in January. Rochester is the same as Minneapolis in January. It sucketh. People, thank you very much for coming along for the ride, for reviewing Derek and Caleb's derpy presentation. And for fake Egyptian god Ra Thoth, you're a chicken. We'll see you later. Nick N says, obviously Ra had some actual flurf evidence, so they had to silence him. Of course.